Hello everyone, we're standing here today at World Hydrogen Week, organized by World Hydrogen Leaders. My name is Johann Wiebe, Executive Director of Hydrogen Standard. And with me here today stands Paul-Erik Vermeulen from Engie. Welcome, Paul.
Hello, Johann. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, thank you very much. Well, it's great to have you, and let's kick off. Engie, the business, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so Engie is a global player. We do a lot in the molecules. We are actually a group that is working mainly on gas, but also you know us from nuclear, and we are a business in transformation.
A business in transformation. Tell us a bit more about what that transformation looks like.
Yeah, so this transformation consists of, let's say, we have a current asset base, which is, we need to decarbonize it. We are looking for technologies, remedials to do that. Hydrogen is one of them, so it's not the only factor we are looking at. But hydrogen is an important part of decarbonizing our current asset base. Next to, for instance, you creating the electrons, the green electrons, via offshore wind, for instance.
So Engie is operational in the Netherlands and also in other places, global player?
We are a global player. We can find us on all continents, actually. Again, we are also available in the offshore wind. We also are, still a gaseous partner, so we do gas. We are not. It's a good medium, but we see that we need to transform to a more green portfolio, and for this we are working on hydrogen.
So hydrogen becoming a more intrinsic part of your greener portfolio. Demand. Let's talk about demand and maybe the lack of offtake. What is sort of your perception at the moment, some of the challenges that the industry is dealing with also, and what sort of role demand, the lack of offtake that currently plays in it?
So what we see is that we are building and constructing some new developments. So we are working on green hydrogen portfolio. We do have secured, for instance, offshore wind. We have secured suppliers for the electrolyzers, EPC contractors. But what we do see is that the demand is not coming yet. Although a lot of people want hydrogen, there is a low willingness to pay, and there is, let's say, why sign now, actually.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? So what is really the crux of the problem here? Why are the off-takers not willing or ready to commit long term, for example, lock in a price, also for projects then to move ahead?
Yeah, so this focus is mainly on Europe then, I would say. I see in the States or for instance in the South Africa or South America, we see that there is more willingness to engage. What you see in Europe is that the regulation is quite demanding. It's non-flexible. Also, there are a lot of prospects that say that prices will drop, while we actually see an increase in price, especially on the supplier side, for instance, offshore wind farms or electrolyzers. So what we see is that there is an increase in the capex cost. There is a prospectus or projection that prices would drop, but we see a reverse action. So off-takers are waiting because why would I sign now and why would I sign for 15 years? This is really a crux. I also see on this venue, for instance, that there is a lack of off-takers, representatives of off-takers ready to sign. And this makes our business case, of course, quite difficult. So regulation in that sense and funding gaps.
Let's talk a little bit on that then. So the regulation and sort of the funding. What is the government currently doing in sort of helping to breach that funding gap and trying to get off-takers on board for the industry sort of to move along?
Yeah, so let's be honest, there is funding. So it's not a lack of funding, it's just the funding is complex in combination with the regulation. Take the Delegated Act, it's just in force. We have been waiting a long time on it. But now you see that the Delegated Act is there, and people start to understand what it entails. Then you have also the funding, which is, let's say, a little bit fragmented, segmented. And what you see is that, you cannot combine one funding with the other funding to bridge now the increasing capex, for instance, which is a pity because then, again, you are facing, let's say, a higher funding gap than initially thought of.
So when you sort of put all these challenges that are currently in the industry present next to each other, what sort of needs to happen in your view in terms of also hierarchy and priorities for things to move along?
We have to simplify the regulation because what we see is that in other continents of the world the regulation is simpler. We see a deindustrialization coming for Europe if this stays as it is. The funding should be easier accessible and probably also combined. And then of course we need to engage with the off-takers to see what is the willingness to pay for a longer tenor to make the investment worthwhile doing for us.
You mentioned some of the other regions that seem to be not dealing with this issue so much. What is it that they do different compared to Europe?
So if we look at the States, the IRA regulation there, it's a more simple regulation. It's not the, let's say, the holy grail, but what you see is a more pragmatic approach of a certain problem. And with that, you see that the industry is more moving that way. For instance, the hydrogen price in the States is about half to almost 2/3 lower than here in Europe.
Let me hook into that. So the pragmatic, what do you mean with that? Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
So it's easier accessible. In the IRA is, let's say, a tax reduction on your project, while here in Europe you have all kinds of regulations. You need several offices where you need to apply for, and you have to apply. You have to do the regulation itself is very complex, also.
Okay, interesting. Finally, then, sort of what can Engie sort of mean and do for its customers and for the industry to help facilitate this process to move along?
So Engie has several projects in the pipe. We are ready to go. We can, let's say, supply hydrogen. We can do it in all kinds of regions, but let's say if we talk about Europe, we have projects in the pipeline that are ready to go, and we would like to seek the off-takers together to lobby towards, let's say, governing bodies, subsidy schemes, to see where we can join forces to make this happen, because we want the hydrogen economy to happen.
Don't we want that all? Paul-Erik Vermeulen from Engie, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Johann.